This conference will now be recorded.
Hello all, welcome to everyone there. I myself Rachala Kumar, the AWS and DevOps trainer. So I would like to take forward this session by having the agenda for this session. The agenda for this session is going to be primarily we will discuss about uh, the expectations I want to set, like I want to set or I want to put and for forward to you so that you guys can be clear regarding some general guidelines that should be followed over this course, and we will spend some time understanding the prerequisites relevant to this course. So I hope uh, I'm excited, people. I hope the same thing is at your end. So let's get started, people. So the first thing that we want everyone to follow as a simple principle that these sessions are being recorded. So we would request you people to join 5 minutes joining this session, like whenever the session is expected to start, at least start joining 5 minutes before the session. So what would happen is when you start joining the session 5 minutes, it takes that additional 5 minutes for us to settle down. So we don't want right after the session you guys settling down because of some mic issues, some audio issues. So this will get carried for another 10 minutes and we will lose that time. So we would request you just start joining the session. The link would be given to you. So use that link to join that session. Next, this is one more request that please put yourself on mute. Why is that? Because these sessions undergo recording. So that would be good enough if you guys can go on mute as soon as you join, because sometimes people tend to forget to turn off their mute button. So what exactly happens is their outside voice do get recorded, and it kind of hindrance for other people to listen what exactly I was doing in the recording. So it's a general request. Now you might have a question that if you have some questions that you want to clear. So the first thing that you can do here is people just start using the chat. Chat would give me a clear picture of your question, because the moment you write, I'll be able to see your question and it makes me much clear to understand your question, and writing your question even makes it easier for you to promptly question what exactly you're trying to reach. So as soon as I understand your question, so you can I'll start taking your question and start responding to your question. We are trying to make sure that we have separate time for all your Q&A, all your questions that you get during the session, or we can take after the end of the session. So please make sure that uh, we will get it done at the earliest, all your questions and queries. Still, if you feel that if it is not, so you can raise your voice. That's not an issue. Always welcome. But please mention your name at the first, and then you can start your discussion. So because I don't know your name, because it's my first meeting with all of you people, so it is very hard for me to recognize by your voices. So it would be good enough if you can just raise your hand or raise your voice and put your name and then start your discussion. Does that sounds good, people? Regarding your questions and queries, how is that? I want you to, if you are clear, then I would need a quick confirmation by typing yes in your chat. If say no, please do type no into the chat. Got it. Thank you very much. Next, this has been one of the greatest challenge that we are facing every day. There are people, one says Ravi, another says Ravi S. So someone says, I have responded to the query of trainer, then I don't know who is this Ravi and who is this Ravi S. Someone says, I joined the session yesterday with name Pawan, and day after he'll join with Kumar. So it's a kind of great challenge that we are facing with regards to the name. Please use your full name. This will not only help us, will also help you to just be clear picture to get what sessions you have been joining. So this is for your convenience as well as our convenience, because when we see when the backend team works ahead and looks into the attendance, they question me that who is this S, who is this A. They give some name of the computers, like some people join with the name of Dell, some people will join with the name of Hello. So we don't even know who did join. When we ask them, they say we already joined. Please help us to give your joining with full name. If you haven't done it, there is a way to get it done. Just drop from the session right after the joining of the session. It will ask you to give your name, or there is an option that you can see right after your name. There will be an option called edit. So down, just edit your name. So that should be an easiest way for us to get started. And we also asked you to give your email IDs. In case if your names are similar, email IDs can be of great help. Apart from that, in case if we need to do any kind of correspondence, so that email ID would be used for any kind of additional correspondence. Like if you want to send some kind of alerts in the form of emails, in the form of contents, material, anything. So our immediate point of contact, we will use this email ID to send it across. So please give your full name and email ID when you start to make a login. That does that sound clear to all of you people? Can I proceed further? Okay, let's continue. So the only option that we have, if you don't give your email ID, the next time when we don't have your email ID, the next thing is we have to discard you from the list, because we cannot send you any kind of correspondence. The only option that will be left for us to do is to discard you from the list, right? So I hope you won't do that. So let's understand. So now I have presented the way to join the sessions. I'll be very specific on how these things are given to you. So whenever there is a session, you will get a calendar invite, primarily composing of this setup, where you will see primarily the agenda of the session. You will see the date and timings for the session and the link corresponding to that session. Here, there are people joining from US, there are some people joining from UK, there are some people joining from other countries. So we use the US as one option to give a clear picture of what time do people join. So we are giving the time in US along with the standard is EST. If you people are joining from India, you have to look at the Indian standard timing. Yes, right. So this should have been IST, Indian Standard Timing. Apologies for it. So Indian Standard Timing. So the link will be given to you. The link will be shared. This is just a link that you need to click and you'll get started with the connecting to the via that connecting to the link. And also make it a practice on a day-to-day basis. Check the date and the time if in case any update or any kind of change that is happening from the date side. We'll also keep you notified with regards to the change, but please do. So it should be your immediate point of contact. So whenever this has been one of the greatest challenge that people do use the previous link. That is today, if the team sends a new link, they won't do that. They use the previous link to join the new session. So please don't do that. Every session will have a newer link. So please make sure that you get that link. So the time that we are making sure is half day. Let's say the session gets completed by an hour from now. So next by mid of the day you should be getting a new link. That is the turnaround time that we are expecting. So new go to link is expected to be shared to you on a day-to-day basis, right? Next link to be shared with you, that is half of the day is the turnaround time, as I said. So you must be expecting late night, that is early mornings in US timing, and afternoon. By afternoon you should be getting your new calendar invite, right? If you are not getting that link, then the point of contact, whoever are your point of contacts, I mean what do you mean contacts here is your immediate person who was in touch with you, who was allowing you to join these sessions. So he or she should be the point of contact for you. So please reach out to them, check with them, and they should be sending you the new calendar invite, right? Is that clear picture, people, regarding the way to join the sessions? Can I expect another confirmation from all of you there so that I can proceed further? Okay, fine. Thank you, people. So now, next thing is one more time the clear understanding and the summary of what we have done here. So the method of training would be online, and